Everything is intensifying. It seems like every time I start the broadcast, that's what I open it with, because it's true. We're going into a time of amazing, unprecedented change on a planetary scale. And the social engineers who are extremely anti-human and who have decided to try to keep humanity in the dark so they can seize total hegemonic power over the future direction of this species, those enemies are in overdrive attempting to suppress humanity, and they are failing on many fronts. That, my friends, is the good news that I can unequivocally bring you here today. Where to start? Because there is a lot to cover, obviously. There's very good news. We need to up the rhetoric in the face of the totalitarians if we have any hope of stopping them, because when you're overwhelmed with giant tyrannical power grabs, like we're seeing happen through the IMF, the World Bank, the EU, and the so-called U.S. government itself, completely occupied by the globalist, when you see things of this magnitude, you tend to respond to them. I tend to respond to them, and the mainstream media has trained us to do this from birth, with just kind of whitewashed headlines that make it seem like it's no big deal. When Obama is saying our military is under NATO UN control and his authority is the UN, that is total impeachment, arrestable offense, high treason, off the charts, clear cut. When he selectively shuts down hundreds of U.S. power plants while engaging in federal incentives to move factories overseas, it's economic espionage and it's high treason. When he says he's going to ban bullets outside of law, extrajudicially, extra-legislatively, when he has no power to do so, it is dictatorship. When he selectively hands out waivers to his friends on the power plants or on Obamacare or on wetlands and 100+ other issues, it is the essence of oppression and a class system that is directed by crony capitalists and anti-free market and total discrimination against the general public, regardless of race, color, and creed. That's why they want us fighting over race, color, and creed all day, because that's a distractionary issue to the main discrimination of the private central banks globally, owned by a handful of families that issue currency and credit on a planetary scale and just so happen to be transhumanist exterminists. People running the planet or dominating the planet, they almost run it. And if they really get full control, which they're getting close to, Katie, bar the door. And I say this all the time because it's true. It pretty much only happens when I'm on air and I think about something. I come in here and I focus on all this and I get a chill up my spine and get goosebumps. I have goosebumps right now. I just got goosebumps. Because when my central nervous system comes face to face with the fact that this is real, just happened again, and how epic it is that murdering control freaks sworn to end humanity as we know it, to annihilate the family, their whole vicious, wicked worldview is one of dehumanization and pain and suffering and humiliation and starvation and failure. They are literally out of the ninth circle of Dante's Inferno. You have to address pure evil as pure evil. You have to address an enemy as an enemy. You have to address usurpers as usurpers. These globalists are not conquerors that come to conquer and give us aqueducts and written language. I mean, you could argue that the Romans, though they oppressed and enslaved many areas, ended up helping those areas in the long run with civilization, with longer life, with science. And the Romans were brutal oppressors in the general sense. The Romans were angels compared to the elite we have. The Romans wanted power and prosperity for their families and their family lines, and they wanted wealth for even their general conscripts and for even their slaves. They were fans of humanity and fans of strength and fans of honor before they declined. But even in their decline, that most evil of empires, we're told by many historians, was angelic in comparison to what we see at the helm of the planet's directorate. Now, that 6-7 minute buildup there brings us to this good news. NRA head, we have the clip, we're going to play it. Obama hates the Second Amendment, acting like a dictator. He's, quote, grasping at straws. This is all I ever asked out of the NRA, and why we, quite frankly, didn't bully them, but assailed them with Gun Owners of America and other groups. And Ted Nugent's been on the show and said himself, we need to, get the NRA in line because they're the only mega large lobby that isn't controlled by the globalists completely that could really represent the people. And if you turn back the tide on the attack on self-defense, you turn back the tide on the attack on sovereignty, the family, the right of free speech.